Friday, and I'm so excited to be on here with you. I want you guys to like, share, tag, invite anybody you may believe word. This is going to impact your life for the better. God has a plan for your life, and His plan for your life is to prosper you in every area of your life. I'm not going to be before you long, but before I get into my message, I want to talk to you about an event that's going to be happening tonight. It's called the Envision Business Wealth Builders Meeting. It's at 8 p.m. If you want the link, definitely DM me. I will give you that information. A, it's going to be a wealth of information that I believe that will help you grow, that will get you the generational wealth that you've been looking for, the generational information that you've been looking for to help propel you to that next level. And so I'm excited to be hosting that tonight. And so, but before, I just want to say that I am so grateful to be on here again this Fearless Friday. And today, I will be talking to you about the fear of the impact. The fear of the impact. You may be thinking to yourself, what does that even mean? How does that correlate to where I am, where I'm going? What does that even mean? Right? When it comes to the fear of the impact, it means that you don't want to take the necessary steps in order for you to be able to make a difference in someone's life. There's something that's on the inside of you that someone else needs. And because you don't understand and recognize the impact that you have, you won't take those specific steps to get it, to get there, to do that necessary thing, to produce that necessary gift, to move into the destiny that you're supposed to move into. And so that is what I talk about when I talk about the fear of impact. Here's the thing. It talks about it multiple times in the Bible, how Cain was jealous of his brother Abel, right? All he had to do was move into a new element instead of having having envy of his brother. What he should have done was try to get the information that Abel had to move into the promise that he was supposed to move into. It was all about moving. It was all about understanding the fearlessness. It's all about understanding the authority that he had, the gift that he had. And so if he would have actually walked into that, he would have moved into the promises that was meant for him. Right? That's why God didn't accept his sacrifice, right? Because there was something missing. It wasn't necessarily for other people. It was just for them to just for him to get whatever God had for him. It wasn't to impact others. Abel's gift was to always impact others. That's why he gave the best, because if you're going to give the best, if you're going to move into that element, it's all about helping other people. It's about being that example. Another story in the Bible that you may recognize is the story of Esau and Jacob, right? Esau gave up his birthright. He didn't understand the impact that the birthright had. And so because he didn't understand the impact that the birthright had, he sold it to his brother. Understand that there's something that's specific in regards to what gifting and what talent and what level that you want to get to in order for you to get to that thing. And so you got to stop walking in the fear of the impact, because you don't really know necessarily how big that impact is. Anytime Jesus went anywhere, he transformed some lives. There was an impact that was left on people that was connected to Jesus. And so as we begin to move into the next level and the next season of 2021, understand that there is an impact that you're supposed to leave on this earth. There's supposed to be people that are supposed to follow you. There's an example that you're supposed to set. There is a generation of people that will come after you, that will follow your example.
Man, I love that. Like, you could tell that our special guest today is not only a financial educator, but he is a man who knows the word of God. Hello, everybody. This is Hope, and I am so excited to be on here today. I know I shouldn't have left you without a dope beat to step to, and it's been a lot of things going on. So I know whereas you're used to me coming on like 2 times at least a week or 3 times a week. I am back, but I'm getting ready for a new relaunch. But listen, come on. And I am not at the least discouraged because I don't see nobody on yet, because you're going to catch this and you're going to catch it on replay and your life is going to be changed. So when you're catching it, as you're getting on or you're catching it on the replay, I need you to do something. I need you to share. Please come to Hope More, little HOPE, uppercase MORE, because you don't need but a little bit of hope to want more out of life. So come to Hope More Facebook channel and go ahead and like my page, you guys, so you'll be contacted when I come on. As well as if you're on YouTube channel, it's still the same, lowercase HOPE, uppercase MORE, one word. I need you to like, share, click the little bell so when I come on, you can come on with me. So you know what, the month of May, we've been doing May we, you know how your mama teaches you how to ask in a nice way, like may I do this, may I do that. So we get into these conversations where for some reason they can get uncomfortable. Now, it's not the worst of the worst or the best of the best, but you know, when it comes to finances and stuff, people often don't feel very, very, very comfortable. So during this happy hour, oh, I forgot my drink. Oh, I forgot to tell my guests to get a drink. So we're going to be drinking from the fountain of knowledge. That's going to be our happy hour. I don't care if you're drinking some water, something else, but let this be a happy hour. What today we're going to be talking about is basically getting real about being broke despite the bling. Okay, I don't have any bling to show you because I'm not particularly a bling person, but whether it's our car or our clothes or, you know, something about what we want to do, we often get into that whole type of trap facade of wanting to look big when little got us. Have you ever heard that phrase, looking big when little got you? I know I used to get mad when my mom and dad would say that. But in other words, where we're more concerned about how things present as if we're wealthy or we're doing really well or we're upper class or upper middle class, that we're more concerned about what that looks like than actually where we are in our own lives in a real way. So today we have an expert, and he's going to kill me to say expert, but he's a financial educator. I think he's an expert in life because not only has this man been put through his own personal relationship with money, good and bad, he has taken so much time out in the last several years of his life, although he's very young, to actually understand the finance industry, to understand what it means to live in financial integrity. And you know what? He's helping me out. So I hope we can help some of you guys out as we talk about getting real about being broke despite the bling. And this is for everybody, right? Man, woman, child, any race, any status, any region. But can we get real a little bit? African Americans are big on the bling. It can be broke. You can't look at the average African American man or woman and tell how much money they may have in the bank. They could be driving a Rolls Royce and renting their room from somebody in a mansion. You never know, because it seems like appearance means a lot for us. And there's some historical reasons behind that. And maybe we'll get into it. But without further ado, I need you guys to click, share. And you know what? I didn't do what I normally do. I need to go click on my phone to make sure it's on my personal page, as well as joining any groups, abide by the group rules, to make sure that people hear this information, because we need it. Any of y'all need it? I mean, is there anyone here just independently wealthy so much that no information about how you can maybe deal with being better employed, understanding how not to live paycheck to paycheck, how you can leave a legacy for your children and not basically leave them with a bill for the funeral? Yes, I said it. Y'all know we good for passing the plate to try to pay for Uncle Jeep's funeral because he don't have no life insurance. We're going to break that. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Mr. Justin DeFoor, and I need you guys to give him a great Hope More welcome. I need to feel you in the spirit, okay? I need to feel you in the spirit. Let's bring him on, Justin.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you very much for having me. I greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much for that introduction. Again, I'm so excited. I'm so elated to be here. I'm so humbled. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am going to be talking
Oh
about
my
a lot of information in regards to finance, in regards to generational wealth, and you definitely said something in regards to um, basically paying for other people's funerals and stuff like that. That is definitely something that a lot of people, especially in our community. I know for mine anyway. I don't know about yours. Mine, there's some people that they do pass the plate and the GoFundMe and all that stuff just because they didn't have things in order. And it is I believe it's my passion and my purpose to be able to present that information to people and hopefully get them not only just the education but become financially free. So that's the goal.
Yeah. You know what, Justin? Before we get into it, and man, I mean, I know I've slated us to be here for a little while, so I just want to make sure that I don't over talk because I've been told that that is something I do because I get so excited about the stories and the possibilities. But before we even get there, could you tell my Hopemore family who may not know you who you are? And let me tell you guys, y'all better get to know him because his name you're going to one day see on somebody's shelf or in somebody's, Hollywood studio and be like, I remember listening to Hope talk to him in 2021. So tell my audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, again, I'm Justin DeFoor. I'm originally from California. I've been here in Georgia for about 20 years. I am a consultant by trade. I've been in consulting for about 4 years, but I'm also in the finance industry as well. So I deal mainly with insurance and the financial industry, but I deal in the credit as well. I'm also a motivational speaker. I am a author and I just, my goal, and I also own a clothing company. So my goal is always to inspire, to educate, to advance other people that come across. So that's me.
Yes. Okay. So when we're talking about the questions that was posed on the flyer about people being underemployed or no
Mhm.
generational transfer of assets or just overextended, you have been through those circumstances and have found ways out, and the work you do now helps educate other people to also find their way out, right?
That's correct. That's correct. I tell you, one of the reasons that I actually got into this industry was because I wanted to understand people's why, right? I wanted to be able to help them develop a plan, a strategy to not only live the best life that they're supposed to live, but even above that,
Mm.
right? Because, in the Bible, it talks about, he came that we might have life, but have it more abundantly. So when we're talking about abundance, generational wealth to me is abundance. And so, when it comes
Mm.
to wealth and when it comes to health and when it comes to a lot of different things that even in our community that we don't like to talk about, right? It's important, it's imperative that you have to know what your why is, right? And so
Yeah, that's a good point.
I know for me, my why, of course, was my children, right? That's honestly one of the reasons I have a master's degree. So one of the reasons that I finished,
Master's degree.
yeah,
Okay.
one of the reasons I finished my master's, honestly, was so that my daughter at the time could see that if she put her mind to something, she can accomplish it. So she saw me walk twice, got my bachelor's and then my master's. And so my goal is to do the same thing when it comes to other people's children and understand the aspect of, knowing your why and then moving on it. So,
I
yep.
love that. You know what? We're going to get to some practical
Mm,
practical examples of how people can walk out
mm,
of I call it broken integrity.
mm.
And some people may call it, overextension, bad credit, or maybe the credit is not the issue, but just living above your means or appearing to live at
Yeah,
a certain economic status, but that's not where you have it.
right.
Um, and particularly in the Black community, not
Mm,
everywhere, but
right.
I've been told by a number of non-Black people that is like, you really can't tell like who in the Black community has money if you just see them walk into an event, because
Right.
we can often be blinged out to the gods.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that
Mm-mm.
necessarily, right?
Right.
Because, usually it's on the other side, right? You got on a Rolex and bling around your neck. You are putting forth a certain image
Right.
of maybe wealth, but
Mm.
the reality is you may live with your grandma in the projects. I wanted to ask you, and this is not a scientific or sociological,
Mm.
excavated anthropological type of discussion, but
Right.
in general, why do you think that particularly Black people, that's so important to them to look a certain way, particularly look a certain financial status? Like, yeah.
Well, I would say it's attraction breeds, right, a lot of different things, right? So if you look like money, then it'll attract money. So whether,
Ah,
so whether you have the money per se, you can, if you understand the concept of attraction marketing is what it's called, attraction marketing, then you'll put yourself in a better position to get those people that maybe make the 6 7 figures that you're really looking for. So it's all about the attractive marketing. I remember me being a manager at a call center, years back. And I would always, of course, wear suits, and everybody would be dressed down, and but they would ask me, "Why do you wear a suit?" Because in my mind, I'm saying, and I tell them, I say, "Well, I'm a CEO in my mind, so this is how I'm dressed." So it's all about, I think, perception, right? It's not necessarily what you have, right? It's about what you do with what you have. And so I think that's what it is the attraction marketing, and getting people to see this is what I want, this is what I desire, this is what I want to walk into. And so because you have that thought process, because you have that mindset, then eventually you walk into it.
I love that. And I definitely think that is, also, we know it's a biblical a principle, but also I guess the mainstream talks about this secret, watch your confession, how you present yourself,
Mhm.
whatever you send out there will come back to you. And
Right.
I think that's great, right? You do what you can, present yourself to the world the best you can.
Right.
Here's where my dilemma is
Hmm.
that sometimes for some people, or
Hmm.
let's just say everybody at least once experience where your money it's not about you presenting the best, but you sort of like go out and get things that you don't or can't afford
Hmm.
to impress people who you might not even like, to
Hmm.
put on something. And that's what I'm talking about, being broke despite the bling. Because
Right.
you're talking about, I won't say fake it till you make it. You're talking about basically presenting yourself to the world with your best foot forward,
Hmm.
seeing what you want to be and being that.
Right.
I'm talking about on the other spectrum where you think that you have to impress people by
Hmm.
using money you don't have, and
Right.
you're actually making yourself more impoverished.
Hmm.
Why do you think for some people that that is sort of like the way to go, or especially in our culture?
Well, I would say this, I'm definitely not speaking from a mountaintop here. I've been the type of person to where I want to spend, money that I don't necessarily have. And I think it's honestly to present a mindset to say that I have it, right? But on the other end, in the back, right? My balance is negative, right? I'm putting stuff in negative, so I got to pay overs because I want to impress the people that I'm with or whatever the case may be. But the reason I believe that is honestly, it could be for the lack of knowledge, right? They don't understand the difference between what's a liability and what's an asset, right? They don't, maybe they're not in that mind frame to think about their later future, right? Their future, they're only thinking about their present, right? And that's, of course, people do that, right? People think about the here and now, right? And not the future, because all we have right now is the here and now. But if you're really looking at looking at it from a financial perspective, looking at it from a even a health perspective, right? People are living longer. So why not plan for the future, right now? Because I
That's
mean,
true.
and so when you're looking at it, I don't know what it is, and it could be mainstream, right? It could be the people that they hang around, right? It could be just because you want it at that particular time, but and they listen to these different songs, I got this money to spend, so let me spend it.
Right.
But here's the thing: you got this money to spend, and so now you got the next 2-3 weeks you're eating Roman noodles because you went out and spent all this money
The
that you
rice
really
and
didn't have,
ketchup going.
right? So it's so it's about show, and I think again, like I said, it's about understanding and having the knowledge to really put some things together, put some perspective together. And I think it says for the lack of knowledge, my people perish. So um, they lack that knowledge, they lack a vision, right, for their future, right? So that's what I think it is, honestly.
What's amazing is that, and I mean, these stats that I remember, gosh, they were from 2018,
Mm,
maybe, or 2017, maybe even earlier. Because I'm trying to think, it's when I was working with Studio 11 Films more regularly, and we were looking at, and it's been funny since that time. Maybe it was like 2015. We've seen this huge growth
mm,
of television channels being dedicated to Black art with original programming. It's not just all music videos, but even when you look at UPN and WB, those
mm.
channels, they had the Moeshas, they had the Living Single. They
Yeah,
use Black monetary support to blow up their channels, and
yeah,
then they cancel the shows. We have amazing buying power. And maybe it was 2015 where supposedly, and you may know more than I would as far as the most recent statistics, but they were saying like a Black American giving could easily be like the 13th highest economy in the world or something crazy like that. And
mm,
so we, and I know this is for anyone, but I particularly look at those statistics like that, like wow, we have expendable income, or maybe we
mm.
don't have expendable. We spend money,
Yeah,
but we don't keep it in our community, and we hear that all the time. So this is not
right.
this show. But the idea that our economy, we could have like our own country with like the 13th highest
Mm-hmm.
um, GDP or something, and then when you see stories like, oh, Black women average assets is $5.
Wow,
Like the average Black woman's asset is about $5. I
wow.
was like, so like, how was that possible? How
Mm,
is that possible? So then stories like this and talking to you is why I think is like so important. And maybe because a lot of people are faking the funk. We don't want to talk about maybe overextending ourselves in student loans for a job that only pays $20,000 after
right.
you got out, or we don't want to admit that maybe certain lifestyle decisions affects our health, or affects our wallet, or affects, maybe we end up having children younger or
Mm,
without planning.
mm,
We don't want, and I'm talking about women, but men have their own things too. There's
right.
like, or we're just sort of like maybe in this mentality, like, well, it's always going to be a hustle and a struggle. So this is just mine.
Yeah.
Um, Let me ask you, since you already put it out there that, yeah, you understand and you experience that, what, if anything, help you like have a different mindset that you have now? Like, what maybe was the first steps towards like, what? I need to make some better decisions regarding my finances.
Well, first, great question. I believe the most important thing for me was my children, right? Understanding that I had a responsibility to them, and not only that, but also just looking at it from a more global standpoint, right? Looking at it from the United States and how income and how taxes and all that stuff work, right? So we know that the tax code was made uh, for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. So in order for me to get the necessary things that I wanted to get in my life to be better, right? To grow into things of that nature, I had to become an entrepreneur, right? And so,
Wait a minute. You know what? You just said a lot, and I know I went to law school. I didn't know the tax code was made for entrepreneurs.
yeah, it's created for
All I think
entrepreneurs.
about tax code is like a bunch of lawyers and accountants came up with a way to make things hard. If you're less knowledgeable about finances and tax structure, where you're going to pay all the taxes, and if you do understand it, then you know how to avoid them. But that's a good point. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, I mean, why do you think a lot of corporations get a lot of tax breaks? Because it's made for them, right? So when it comes to even um, looking at it from even last year's perspective, right? You saw how they quote unquote called people essential and non-essential, right? And so it just so if I'm looking at it from that perspective, and going back to your question, I didn't want to be considered non-essential, right? I wanted to put myself in a better place because honestly, we're all essential, right? And if we just grasp some knowledge, some concepts, some ideas, and start moving towards them, then we can actually. And that's why I think that's where we're like the 13th GDP, because we have so many entrepreneurial aspects and we have so entrepreneurial ideas. If you look at, here's the thing, we get taught Black history, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And we know it's in February, right? We get 1 month to talk about
Yes.
us, right? We get 1 month to talk about us, right?
28 days,
Exactly.
29
Oh, yeah,
months
exactly. 20 on a leap year. On a leap
on a
year.
leap year.
Probably, I would say, if you looked at all of the different things that were created in the United States, right, came from us. So why is it that we can basically put ourselves in a place to where we're still at the bottom when we
Yeah.
shouldn't be, right? Because here's the thing, even though we created, because if it wasn't for us, then there would be no United States. Anyway,
All right,
so,
now break it
so,
down.
so when it comes to our financial standpoint, our financial thought process, it should always be about how do I help the next generation achieve what I want to achieve, right? I want to achieve freedom. If I can't think about it, from the slaves, right? They wanted to be free. So what did they have to do? They had to create something, right, called the Underground Railroad, and they did those things to be free. So they, I'm gonna say, went outside of the box, right, to do what they needed to do to be free. So when it comes to our finance, we need to do the same thing. Think outside of the box. That's why we have so many ideas. That's why we have so many entrepreneurial concepts and things like that. Just because we know that we have to think outside of the box in order for us to get, say, a leg up from our counterparts, right? And so being taught this information, knowing this information, understanding this information, then it will not only bring us, to me, it should bring us together, because now we can actually work together to, um, you know, have better education for our children. So, better roads for our communities, and we can have our own schools, and we can have our own, whatever the case may be. Because honestly, back in the day, when we were segregated, we had our own schools, right? I mean,
Right. We had our own
so
businesses and
yeah, so it wasn't like we didn't have all these things, right? But back to my point. My point is that we have to learn how to get the necessary things that we need to get, understand things that we need to understand, and that's credit, that's finance,
ooh,
right?
that's that BC word,
Yeah,
that big C
finance,
word.
credit, right? Understand what taxes are, understand about inflation, right? How to outpace inflation, how to, basically have something to um, basically help you if something were to happen to you, right? I wrote a statistic down. Over 70% of bankruptcies are over medical, over healthcare costs. So it's, yeah,
Wow,
so
70%?
70%, over 70%.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
So people always talk about it's divorce. No, it's not. It's healthcare. So being taught the education on how to be able to put some money away so that when that happens, or if that, because it's not if, it's when that happens, you have money to get that and learn that, then you'll have that when that happens. So it's something that I teach, and I think that everyone should know this, right? I think that everyone should be able to have access to this type of information. And so, um, yeah, I mean, it's all about growth. It's all about understanding and having the knowledge. See, people think that when it comes to finance, it's all about money. No, because if it was all about money, there wouldn't be no need for credit.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about credit. And
Okay.
I dropped something down here, so I'm trying to pick it up. I have not been able to do it conspicuously, so like I just want to tell people in case they're like, why does she keep going down? Um, the whole credit thing, I sometimes wonder because you made mention of during segregation we did have businesses. Even now when I go to third world countries or the average Haitian neighborhood or African neighborhood, in that neighborhood someone's selling some soda, some cans. Like it just seems like regardless of integration or racism, even though there's real racism in the systems that we deal with in the US,
Mm,
Black people and people of color have always been like entrepreneurial, like you were mentioning.
mm,
But I wonder sometimes, did credit and getting involved in too much debt potentially, has
mm.
that hurt us? Because back in those days, you really weren't afforded a lot of credit, if at all, right? You
Right.
sort of like you paid as you could afford. But let's talk about this credit thing because I know credit has trapped many of people,
Right.
regardless of gender or race. But
Right.
it effectively, definitely can really hurt those without maybe a generational literacy, financial literacy of how
Mhm.
credit works. So, like, break it down. What do you want to share with us about credit as it
So,
relates to needing the knowledge?
I am part of a company where I built a company called the Game Changers. And so what my definition of credit is access, right? And so when I think about access, um, I think about being able to open, knock on doors and have them open on places that I wouldn't think that I would have access to. So when you
Okay.
have good credit, you have access to more things. A better credit rating or a better APR rate. Say you want to get a car or a home, if you have access. And so when you have access, it means that you're accountable for the things that you've accessed, right? And so if we're talking biblically, right, it says he gave us dominion. So we have ownership. See, and what people don't recognize is that when you have good credit, that means that you taking on ownership of multiple things, and you are able to um, put them in a place to where you can take account for them, right? And so that's what credit is.
Yeah.
Credit is taking account. So if I'm giving you credit, that means you're taking ownership of the things in which I allowed you to take. Like, right? So you got a car, that means you have now something that I've allowed you to take. Now let's see if you can make sure that you make those payments, and you're responsible enough to make those payments and things of that nature. So it's all about access, right? So to your point, to your question, like I said, credit is access. To me, the most important thing in regards to credit is a lot of people don't understand the when it comes to like credit cards, right? The average household has about 16,000 uh, worth of debt in credit card bills, so right, in credit cards. So, and that's saying a lot, right? $16,000, right? So, if you understand how credit works, how credit cards work, of course, there are three bureaus: Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax,
Those
right?
demonic little forces.
So exactly. So you gotta, and here's the thing: you gotta understand that each one deals in its own aspect, right? You might get one that's pulled from TransUnion, and you might get one pulled from Experian. So wherever you go, they pull from different areas, right? Different credit bureaus. So if you know the knowledge, if you understand how credit works, that's why they say, don't do a lot of pulling, don't do a lot of inquiries, because, it could mess up your credit or whatever the case may be. Because what it says is, oh, I'm trying to get this credit over here. Oh, they don't want me. Okay, I'm gonna go over here. It's like, and see if and they're like, hold up, wait a minute. Why are you doing so many? What, you can't get access over here? See, what that means is you don't have access over here. That means I got to go over here to get some access. Oh, I can't get access
Yeah,
over here.
yeah.
That means I got to go over here to get access. You see what I'm saying? So instead of just understanding, if I take my credit seriously, then I'll understand that no matter where I go, I'll have access, right? No matter where I go, I'll have access. Why? Because I was responsible enough to and I took account of what I borrowed or what I used or whatever the case may be. There's also, they don't want you to use a certain percentage of your credit card, right? Or your credit card bills, right? The utilization is what they call it, right? 30%. 30% of your utilization. So say you have a credit card for $1,000, right? $300. They don't want you to use over $300 within a month's time. So understanding how utilization works, how payments
Wow.
work, things of that nature. If you understand that piece, then it helps you as well. Helps you build your credit as well. Of course, mortgage payments on time. All these different things take account of ownership. And so, and of course, when if you understand ownership, then you understand access, right? I have access to these certain things. And so when it comes to credit, I wrote some things down in regards to what I would say would help people in regards to finance, right? I wrote three.
Yeah, definitely.
So one of the things I wrote down was make a vision financially, right? Make a vision financially of how much you want to make, of how much you want your credit score to be, of all of those different things in regards to your finances. Say I want to make $100,000 this year. Okay, how do I want to make it? Do I want to make it just working a 9 to 5? Do I want to make it working a 9 to 5 and a business? How do I want to make that money, right? Then put some goals together. Once you put some goals together, then you start walking it out. The second thing I wrote down was consistency, right? See, because you can start something, and a lot of people do, right? A lot of people are just starters. I got to start something real, real good, but then I don't want to take the time to actually fulfill it, right? I don't want to see it move. It's not moving fast enough, right?
So
So
what's number two? Fulfill?
no,
Did
number
I
two
get it?
is consistency.
Consistency.
Yeah,
I'm writing this down for my own self too. This is some good stuff, y'all. Y'all should be writing it down or watching this again. Go ahead. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Consistency, right? Staying focused. A lot of times we get discouraged or we get distracted by some things, so we don't stay focused on that particular goal, right? So once we have the vision, we make it plain, we write the goals, we stay consistent, and then we start seeing those goals. You're right. You want to write some short-term goals, you want to write some long-term goals, things of that nature. You start seeing those things being achieved. And then the last thing I wrote was resources, and I'm talking about like mentors, people that will help you along the way, right? People that will get your mindset thinking, all right, so how do I get to this place? How do I get to that place? What things do I need to learn, right? Not only that, you might want to get a financial educator, right? Might want to get somebody who will help you achieve those goals, right? Because sometimes, just like going to the gym, you need a
Coach,
coach, yeah, to be like, hey, I see you doing.
personal trainer to tell
Yep,
you
you did 10
what
yesterday.
you're
I want to
doing.
see you get
Yes,
12
yes.
today. What's going on? What's going on? I need to see you
Right.
see you advance. And then, you may need an accountability partner as well. Somebody who's going to make you accountable of the goals and things that you set forth for yourself. Because at the end of the day, all we have is ourselves, and we don't want to. A lot of times we get down on ourselves because we don't make the goal, right? But that accountability partner will say, hey, what goal did you make? What goal did you hit it? No, you didn't. Okay, well, so why didn't you hit it? And let's make a plan to hit another goal, so to keep you going. So it's always good to have those things at your disposal. um And my mentor always tells me wealth is in relationships. So make sure you have some wealthy relationships, right? Um,
I
that's
love that. Wealth is in relationships.
yeah, yeah,
I like that. Because when you mentioned resources, I was thinking, oh, loan companies, somebody that could give you some money or startup, and you're talking about relationships. And I
yeah,
think that's so important because sometimes, depending on where people are with their finances,
hmm
they feel like the answer to everything is just more money, more. Yes, money answers all things. That's what the word says. But
yeah,
often it is the discipline. I love that, making a vision and being consistent in what you say you want to do, and then having people to help keep you accountable. That doesn't mean those people are giving you money,
yeah,
but if one time I did, I guess, a financial fast for 21 days,
hmm
and I would say a food fast is easier, but and like you could not make exceptions. Like it was a birthday party you're going to, you could not make an exception. I mean, if you found something in your house
yeah,
that you can like, cough up, and or like someone's like, oh, we're all going out, and you're like, okay, am I gonna go and drink water and be like, hey,
yeah,
but just like the idea of accountability, to me, that's probably the hardest. So when you say resources, it also includes accountability, that you're not, it's just like any other
mm,
discipline, that is like it's easy to say what you're doing until someone looks at your bottom line like, you didn't spend in your budget, or you did something else. You can't sort of like cut back and still not have enough at the end of the month. So that's really powerful. That's powerful. So make a vision, be consistent, and resources.
yeah,
Let me ask you. So, I'm a single mom, which
mm,
I'm not. I'm a
right,
single mom. I am paying a lot of money in student loans. I'm
mm,
one of those people that got $16,000 worth of debt, and um, I'm paying on like the minimal amount on my credit card, just
mm,
trying to get by. And I know you're not a financial magician, you're an educator.
right,
And I'm hearing you say like make a vision, because and be consistent in resources. And
mm,
a part of my vision is I want to get out of debt. I want
mm,
to at least get out of the credit card debt.
mm,
I've been deferring and deferring as much as I could for college. Now I'm having to pay that. But say my goal is just to be able to not worry about APRs and,
mm,
missing payments and all those kind of things. Those things that so quickly can get your credit record looking crazy.
mm.
What is like one thing you would suggest in encouraging me to make a vision and being consistent? Like, how do you like start with people like that?
So that's a great question. Honestly, I would say, well, to the single mother, you're doing a great job. Awesome. I love it. Um, Secondly, I would say put a goal together. Like one of the things that I do is we have what is called a financial needs analysis or a financial lifestyle strategy. And so what we
Oh,
do in regards to that, there are six different things that we look at. And I'm not going to talk about the six different things, but there are six different things that we look at that would help alleviate some of the issues or I would say the things, the concerns that you would have to be able to get out of debt, so you can have, say, your revolving debt turn into installment debt, so you have a debt freedom day, so to speak. Um,
oh wow.
so that's what we would. So that's what my suggestion would be. But to have a financial lifestyle strategy, let us sit down. Let's come up with a plan. That way, not only are you, um, not only are you getting yourself in a better place to become financially free, but you're also setting up maybe a savings as well, so that you're seeing money grow at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like in basically helping coach someone through it, and the idea of getting to the end, you also have like practical ways that a person can still have something that they're
Mhm.
saving, and it's not just going out to MasterCard or something like that.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I love that. So that definitely, and so in your advice about making a vision, the kind of services you provide, you help somebody with that vision, or they may say the end goal is I want to get out of debt and buy a house, and that's all I know. And you can help sit down and say and look at least 6 different ways possibly that could help them get to their goal, and then help them stay, or help that person, that single mom, stay accountable to her goals.
That's correct. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And I'm like, this is like, probably, I say discussion like this in finances is like worse than going to a gynecologist. Like, you know, I mean, I'm just thinking about, and we're going to talk about insurance next because I'm looking at my time, but I just think about, even though I don't believe that I'm a person who worries about bling, I definitely don't want to be broke, but, you know, there are people who have great expectations of me, and they really could care less at the end of the day, unless they're my parents, probably, or my, you know, but like, they will sometimes put stuff on me and I have to shake it off. Like, you know, I was driving, my first car ever was a Porsche. My parents bought me a used Porsche for my birthday. Nice. 16th birthday. And the vehicle I had before this last vehicle was a Lexus SUV that I absolutely loved. Yeah. So when I went and bought the first time I ever went and bought one for myself and paid, like I've paid off cars, but my dad usually like, what you want? And he'll go get something. And he's like, this is what your payments are. But when I go get a car, I'm like, yes, Toyota Camry is what is that? Because I can fix all those things for just a little bit. When I had that Lexus, every time I went in, it was like, oh, 500, 600, 700. And I was like, this is not where I am, where I can just spend this kind of money. Right. And so I remember coming home for Christmas and a cousin like, I know you're not driving no Toyota Camry. You're supposed to be some big time lawyer. Da, da, da. And I was like, girl, I never claimed to be big time nothing. And then I sort of felt a sort of way about that. Like, and then I was confident that people like Bill Gates or who's the founder of Facebook, like, well, even though Bill Gates is now balling out of control, but there were no Mark Zuckerberg for modest cars and modest homes. And I'm like, let me get you out of my head. And I was going to put more description, but she know who she is. She probably never watched this. But I'm like, let me look at what you got. Bless God. I was like, why am I getting caught up in this? And I think having a coach for anyone out there that's helpful, because once you get into it and the sacrifices you may need to make so that you're not worried about blinging, you just want to not be broke. You need someone to remind you of why it's important, because there's so many things in the atmosphere that tries to make you push you towards like the appearance of something versus really having that stability. So speaking of that, Justin, thank you so much. And I know I was like, okay, we try not to go over an hour, but one thing you and I talked about that I think is so important, and I mentioned at the top of the hour, is how there are so many communities who have changed the trajectory of their family's finances by purchasing life insurance and annuities and different things. And even though Black people, especially in the South, years ago did a lot of that penny insurance that paid very piss poor results, but just like that lack of financial understanding in the Black community, or how much you could really have your family cry all the way to the bank after you die. Like, that's a huge opportunity that many of us are missing out on. Could you just share a little bit about why you think that is, and how important is it for people to think differently when it comes to maybe ways they can generate generational wealth?
That's a great question. I think that a lot of people don't really know what's out there, right? They don't know these different things that are at their disposal, right? They're looking at, from a monetary standpoint, they're looking at what they can get at this particular moment. They're not really looking towards their future. And so when it comes to life insurance or leaving something for the next generation and generations to come, right? So it's a good father leaves a generation for his children's children, right?
Come on now, that's what the Bible says.
So when it comes to that, I know for me, I think it's my purpose and my passion to be able to educate the people, our community about what's needed, right? And what's needed is being able to say, hey, if something were to happen to me or something were to happen to whomever, that they're taken care of, right? Even though people are living longer, we don't know, what can happen. Of course, we know last year with COVID-19, right? And a lot of things have happened. Insurance companies weren't even allowing people to get approved if they caught COVID, right? So you got to understand that there's a need specifically. Everyone should actually have insurance, and so even when it comes to like people who have jobs and they say, "Oh, I got it," I have insurance through my job. Well, let me ask you this: do you plan on staying at that job forever? No. So if something were to happen to you, say you lost a job or whatever the case may be, is it yours? No, it's the company. So we teach people how to get their own insurance, so it's theirs, and they can leave that to whomever, their children or whomever, they have in their family or whatever the case may be. And so I think that for me, that is my goal. I know I wish my mom would have, known about this a long, long time ago, right? They don't even know that, the wealthy, and I'll give you a little tidbit. The wealthy, what they do is you can actually get insurance on your children, you know, 12 days after you have them 12 days. So they get one of something that we provide, one of the insurances that we provide, they get what's called permanent insurance. And so by the time they're 18, that's why they're, they don't use uh the federal government, that's why they don't use student loans, right? They can pay out of pocket. Why? It's coming out of the insurance, right? It's not coming out of the federal government. They don't have to own anything, right? So we teach them how that's possible. And I believe that, if we educate our community on that, then it'll be better for them as they grow older, right? Because one of the things that I looked at, you never know what the next day will bring, right? And so I even my story, right? I have heart disease, and I wasn't born with it. But I promise you, if I wish my mother knew about life insurance when I was born, guaranteed I would have it already. You know what I mean? I would have it, and it wouldn't be no issue. So, my goal is to educate people so that doesn't happen, right? So,
Yeah.
so it's
That
like,
is so important because I don't even think the average person knew. I can say I went to law school and I did not, well, I learned more about insurance before I went to law school, but
mhm,
there are, if you already have certain medical problems, it's hard to get insurance. Some people say impossible, but that's after that's displayed. So if you get your children permanent insurance, they could unfortunately deal with lymphoma or something that would make them otherwise uninsurable. But because you purchased it before that became known, they're great, as they would say,
mhm,
at least in some type of way with insurance. And so insurance is a really powerful thing.
it is.
And I know growing up, or even friends, right? My
Yeah.
white counterparts, it was not unusual at all for a part of their wedding gift to be down payment on a home. And I didn't realize how many people were basically getting stuff out of insurance, or they were able to gift property to their kids because it was gifted to them. And
Mhm.
just like, even if it didn't come out in the bling bling your bank account, we know that properties are assets.
You're right.
So a lot of people or they start a business after someone passed away and left them money. And I'm just like, we all know we're going to die.
Hmm.
And even if you're like me and single, don't have any kids, I can bless my nephew. I can bless people who I care about by having insurance. And I'm definitely one of those people like, well, I have work insurance and I don't have children, but now I have a house
Yeah.
and I have some assets. And I'm like, why not bless my nephew, when I'm 105 and want to die and he's 80. So yeah, I love that. So, okay. So the business that you do,
Hmm.
that assists people in understanding access, credit,
You're right.
that people to understand like the benefits of insurance and how that
Hmm.
could financially bless people, or like you were saying, if you end up having a sickness, help them avoid being uninsurable or the money could be used for other things over
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help but to end our time, and I know we have more time, that I'm gonna have to have you back on the show about more of what you do. But you mentioned more than once, of course, the entrepreneurial mindset. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who are young
Mm-hmm.
with energy,
Yeah.
and they would probably describe themselves as underemployed if they were really honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about time as far as hours, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, I don't know. There's just, they have a goal,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they're making as wise of financial decisions as they can,
Mm-hmm.
but and maybe their ends are meeting. Say maybe their ends are meeting, but they want more, and
Right.
they're young and they have the energy to maybe consider doing something in addition to
Mm-hmm.
what their 9 to 5 is.
Yeah.
Could you just share some wisdom on looking at that as a way to change your financial trajectory?
Well, I would say when it comes to entrepreneurship, I would say this, and people that are in, like, say, the working place, right? So I will give you a statistic: 95% of people trade their time for money, right? 95% of people trade their time for money. So that tells me that only a small amount of people actually are able to do the things that they're wanting to do, like actually living the life that they're wanting to live because they have time.
Okay.
So
95% of people trade their time for money.
yeah,
Okay.
so like when you're working, right, you don't have time to maybe go on a vacation, or maybe, you're trading your time for money instead of actually having that time to do what you really, really want to do. And so anyway, talking about entrepreneurship, um, you have we have ways and where you can make a secondary income to be able to maybe even supplement some things that you want, or maybe put yourself in a place to where, say, you have some dreams and some goals that you want to aspire to later on in life. It can give you that monetary gain to get to those dreams. And so I have those opportunities for the things that in which I do. I'm a mentor myself. I have an agency that I'm building, and then, of course, I'm attached to some mentors that makes 6 to 7 figures a year. So, so they're able to I say partner with them and with me in that way if they wanted to. And so I think that when it comes to what I do, it not only is a noble profession, but it's also something that can make you a lot of money.
Well, you know what? It's not for the faint of heart. Being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. When you're not working, you're not making money. Well, at a certain point, I know it can get a little deep, but you have to be able to put yourself out there,
Mhm.
especially being able to grind. And I know in the Black community in particular, we're used to grinding,
Yeah.
but like, why not grind in a way that you lessen that percentage of working for money? You're exchanging your time for money and exchanging your time for family, for growth,
Hmm.
for fun.
Exactly.
You mentioned your businesses and you have quite a few. I want to note your linked tree. Is that what we call it? Linked
Yeah,
tree
Venture, yeah.
site. And actually, I was going to even pull it up. The game changers. Tell us a little bit about the game changers. You guys need to write this down. I can post it in the comments as well.
So the Game Changers is my organization, is my agency that I'm building. I have agents across the country. I have agents in Ohio and Texas and
You're
Chicago.
such a mogul.
And so
Y'all listen up, America.
I'm building my agency in that way. And so the Game Changers, it's all about mindset. When I think about changing the game, I think about changing people's mindset, right? Having a just for now mentality, or a broke mentality, or a mentality that that doesn't allow you to be able to live a free life that you want to live the life that you want to live. I'm about changing the game. I'm about making sure people have that access, people have that time, people have that freedom to do what they want to do. So I always say,
So these are your businesses. This is what. So I'm looking at your website now,
mm-hmm.
and I know it would be too casual to say just tell me about all your businesses. But could you just give us a blip? You are brands. It's not who you want to be, but it's who you are. Oh, I put a but. It's who you are. Tell
Right.
us a little bit about that.
So You Are Brands is my clothing line, and of course, it's all about walking in who you were created to be, right? And so I have clothes that say, you are triumphant, you are fearless, you are worth it, you are set apart, right? It's more so the reason it's called You Are Brands is because it's branding who you are. So it's customizable. You can customize who you are, right? You could, so it's all, it talks about who you are basically. So when you wear the shirt, it identifies to you who you are, and it also mirrors to other people who you are. So when they see you, they see who you are.
I thought this whole time that I was clicking through your website and I thought it was showing on screen and it wasn't. I'm like, I'm
No,
sorry.
it wasn't. No, that's fine. That's fine.
I'm always like show and tell. Like people like to see what they're talking about. It's
Mm.
easier to understand. So you are fearless. I think that's the shirt I may have. And so I love it. And you were inspired to do these because of why? Because
So
of why?
honestly, the Lord gave it to me last year, right before gave me the idea, right before the pandemic, right before
Wow.
COVID, and I was inspired to do it, and of course, it started me, of course, doing my videos online. So it correlates to that. So it's more so it's more so not just the clothing line, but it's a movement. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of people need to understand and then recognize who they are. A lot of people are not walking in who they are because they're not they're either not really uh, honing in on what's on the inside of them, right? They,
Wow.
because a lot of people are, some people have been sheltered. Some people, a lot of people been bullied, right? And so their self esteem is low. So that piece of whatever they are that's on the inside of them is laying dormant because now it's been trampled on, right? But these shirts really indicate who you are, and they want you to, so it's there to inspire you to walk in it.
Well, I'm inspired by you. I'm just like, do you ever sleep? Because you are so involved with so many things. And it's not that you're like a jack of many trades. You're very good at what you put out there. So
Mhm.
now looking at your strategic consulting business
Yeah.
or strategic business consulting, tell
Mhm.
me a little bit about that.
So what I do is I have businesses or so. The goal is to help entrepreneurs build their business. So I do business plans, I do strategies, I do marketing, I do
Wow.
branding. So it's all about me being able. That's why I think one of the gifts that I believe I have is when someone gives me a vision or the vision that they see or they have, I can put it on paper. I can make it become a reality, on paper, so to speak. So I'm the writer. Now they say write the vision, make it plain. Well, I'm the writer.
Yes.
You
So
know.
you can help people with their vision and mission, business plan, branding. And I love it because you're not only a provider, you're a client. I'm just joking. I was thinking about that hairline for men. Um,
Funny.
I'm corny a little bit. I apologize.
No, it's fine. But I love it.
You've been so great, and I know I've gotten you over an hour, but we're going to hit wealth expansion program and financial partnership program just so my people who are going to be watching on replay can
Okay.
actually get a sense of all the things that you do in case they're in need of it or one or all of your services. So, I think my computer is getting tired of me clicking back and forth. So, yeah, share with us about your wealth expansion program.
So the wealth expansion program is about the credit. Is about the credit piece. That's where I'm able to
Okay.
where you're able to get out of debt 2 to 3 times faster than you have. Like come up, there's a strategy that you come out with. Not only that, but there's also There's like a 5 minute video. It shows you what services come within the credit program, so that you understand that there's a wealth um, of knowledge, right? And then there's also a wealth perspective as well. Now, what I don't have on there is my agency, right? The Game Changers agency. I don't have that link yet. I'm creating the page for it for my for the insurance piece, right? I don't have that link yet. And then the financial and then the wealth, not the expansion, but the partnership piece of it is, of course, you come on board as a credit referral agent, and that's where you're able to teach people the business of credit. Not only become a client of it, but you also get to help people walk through it as well. So,
woohoo! And I don't mind saying that I just became a client, and I've been looking at my identity protection, and I just got an email about the letters and just
awesome.
all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I stay plugged in. So not only do you help people, and it's not just because you adore me, you also help keep up and make sure that people are using the services that they're paying for. And it's a very, very cost-effective service. And I'm very excited that in a few months to a year, I will be able to say, check my credit report. I don't care. It's beautiful. It's glistening. Versus like,
Exactly.
wait a minute. Let me see. Let me see first. Let me see what it is today. So I'm very excited about that. And who knows, maybe I'll become a referral agent one day. But because of that, I was like, oh, if I can get him to come on, because like I said, this to me is more vulnerable than going to the gynecologist. Like, oh, I do not like to have any part of my life that I feel embarrassed about. Now, there are things in my life that can always improve. So I'm not looking for perfection, but there's things like maybe cleaning up my credit report, maybe for some of y'all taxes, insurance, that is like embarrassing. It's like that embarrassing closet. Like, it's okay for it to not be all perfect, but when you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't like that. I think that is broken integrity, right? Because not only is credit also a word for access, but as my mother was telling me recently, it's like, it says a lot about you. Do you do what you say you're going to do? We all mess up and we all have opportunities to get it right. But there's even jobs. I've had job applications that ask you for permission to run your credit report. You're not given certain clearances with a certain credit report, I guess, because they think if you got bad credit and you're attached to something where you can like finagle to pay off debt, then we don't want you doing this. So I just, I'm really looking forward to that. And so the Bling for some of you guys in my Hope More family may not be, the idea that you're flashy or, you buying the latest and rocking the latest. It may just even be that, like, if there's anything that causes you to push back, because I believe God wants us to be confident, even in our little things, right? You press that shirt and you present yourself to the world as best as you can, but He's not expecting you to get in debt, and He's not expecting you to take on too much and be afraid to work hard. And one thing I can say about you, Justin, you work hard. You work really hard. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing this. The devil don't want people to know this information, but it's okay because I'm going to edit this thing down and have it replayed. So thank you so much. Please stay on. And I'll let you actually say the last words before signing off. Okay. But I do want you to stay on for a second afterwards. So what closing word could you leave Mr. DeFoor with my Hope More family?
I would say that when it comes to finance and when it comes to education, it's important for you to understand and know what finances are, come up with a strategy, and then not only that, also be able to have the wherewithal to walk out the strategy. And once you do that, I believe that you'll not only gain wealth, but you'll also be financially free.
Oh, man, I love it. Didn't y'all love that? We're going to have you back on. Maybe I have to do an expose on how I'm doing. under your guidance as a resource. Love you guys so much, and I mean it. Bye bye. Have a wonderful Wednesday, wonderful Hope Day, because we don't do humps around here. Bye bye.